So hi everyone, my name is Matt Vercauteren. I'm the product owner for the STRUXI product. Today I'm going to walk you through usage of the web application for STRUXI that would be used by your field folks, foremen, project leads, superintendents that are responsible for capturing time in the field and getting that through to the back office. So what you're seeing here is the time allocation by crew window. And this window really works well if you've got multiple people working together to get things done or to generate production. So a short tour here, just to introduce you to the setup. On the top left is the name of the window, and there's other options available that we'll get into shortly that you can remove the crew grouping. Beneath that, you've got the job. It's available for selection. And within STRUXI, you can limit the jobs that are available for a field individual to be able to view. But for those that are available, that individual would be able to switch between jobs if necessary to capture time. I've also got the ability to move through time here. So you can see I'm currently set on the 14th of January, and we can toggle between dates within the application. And you'll notice that on the left-hand side here, this is where we've got our crews. And as I moved between dates or through time, those folks stayed the same. Those carried forward so that you didn't have to continually enter those or make adjustments. It is possible to make adjustments to your crews. I'd set this up in advance to make things a little bit more quick. And this one in particular, I've called the forming crew. And there's 4 members you can see. And those 4 members are made up of the individuals down here. Now you've probably noticed that there's a clock icon on a couple of them, and that's available if you're using our STRUXI Capture add-on. There's no extra charge for STRUXI Capture, but what that does is it's a kiosk style application that runs on a tablet on your job site where folks can punch in and out, and that information would then get reported here. Totally optional. We can turn that off if it's not something you wanted to use. But the major value here is, as I mentioned, being able to make one entry that applies to many people that are working together. So for example, I've got the foreman crew selected right now, and I can make an entry against cost code 2 here for everyone in that crew. Maybe everybody worked together on cost code 2 today. And you can see that the 8 hours was applied to each one of those individuals. For customers that choose to use STRUXI Capture, you can see that we're reporting out the number of hours the kiosk captured for that individual. So Devante, the clock captured 10.25 hours, and Mason captured 6.25. Now, there's no restrictions. It's not going to force your field people to fall in line with those numbers because things change. Mistakes happen. People don't always remember to punch in and out. We're trying to make this as easy to use for the foreman as possible. So it's important for us to give the information to the foreman, but to allow them to have the final decision making in what actually happened. Within this, because not all the time does everybody work together, we've included the ability to handle exceptions. And this is really important because exceptions happen all the time. And in the field, the foreman from our research has shown that they want to handle the exceptions first. So in this other crew, I'll show you how that would work. Let's say that Brian Balaga had to leave early, didn't punch out because he had to go for a family emergency or something like that. The first click that you make on Brian is going to select him so that you can take care of an exception for him. So let's say that he was working on cost code 5. Could type that in, and he had to leave at lunch, so he only worked 5 hours today. For the rest of the crew, I can easily select everyone else, 4 of the 5 members, everybody except Brian, and I can make that same entry, but for the entire day. Maybe, for example, Devante, the clock is accurate, and he worked more than everyone else. So we can switch back over to the forming crew and select just Devante and say that he spent extra time on cost code 2 today, 2.5 hours. And this is where the time attributes function comes in, where you can flag those hours for all sorts of reasons that your foreman or field folks may need to keep track of. So overtime is one of those. Another common one that we've seen used is the foreman uplift. So maybe not only was he working overtime, but he was filling in for a foreman that had to leave for whatever reason. So the type ahead search allows you to make that entry and keep track of that stuff. And that would flow through to the export as well. As a brief overview, that is an introduction to the by crew. Again, that's used for groups of people that are getting work done together. If you're working in a setting where individuals can create production on their own and they don't need to work as a crew in order to get things done, then I'd suggest using the by crew member window. So in this window, everything is the same as far as entry, the reporting that we're doing at the job level, the reporting that we're doing at the employee level here. But the groupings of the crew has been removed. So you can see, for example, Geronimo from the earlier entry, he has 8 hours that we've entered previously, and Devante has the 10.5 that was entered. They're different views of the same data, so you can live just in one view if you wanted, or you could move around if you've got different makeups on the job or on within your crews varying by day, whatever's easier for you, the same data with a different view. The last view I want to show you switches the axes here to the cost codes on the left-hand side and the employees on the right. So this is helpful for folks that do choose to use STRUXI to gather production information and report out on estimated versus actual. What are our production targets? How are we doing? On that sort of thing. So maybe a superintendent or a project manager might want to come and look at this window, even if they're not making entries, or a foreman who's thinking about their work from the work that needs to be done and who's executing that work might find this window helpful as well to think about cost code 2 first. How much did we get done today, and who did that work? So you can see, like I said, it's just a different view of the same data. So all of the things that we've entered on the by crew view are here for your field folks to be able to take a look at, review from that cost code perspective, and make an entry of the production that the folks down here that executed the work today accomplished. So for example, I'll say we completed 2,500 feet on cost code 2 today. And then that production value would be saved and would be available for reporting through our Power BI integration for project managers to track, speak to the foreman about how they're doing, are they on pace, and that sort of thing. You've got the same features in here that you can use for the individual employees. You can select a crew member instead of a cost code, since the cost codes are on the left, enter a number of hours and describe them. So you can see that here with Devante, that entry we just made for 2.5 hours of overtime and foreman uplift is there as we entered before. You can edit it from here. You don't need to edit it from the window it was entered in. So for example, maybe it wasn't 2.5, maybe it was actually 3 hours. And it wasn't a foreman uplift, but it was overtime. So we can make that entry right from here. All of this will flow through to the export, where you can select the date range. Let's go back to the January time frame that we were looking at here. You can export the timeout. It will generate a comma separated value file for you with all the information that we've entered in so that you can upload it into your payroll system. Thanks everyone for walking through STRUXI with me today. Feel free to reach out to us if you've got any questions.